everybody, welcome back to another episode here at Garage Time TV. I am Marshall, and today we are jumping back into our 1986 Bertone X19. Now last week we did a DIY alignment, which was kind of not super successful, but we were, in a way, I guess, because we lost the shake in our wheel, which is great, but our steering wheel wasn't straight, so we did the right thing and listened to the comments down below, which thank you for all of you for commenting on that video and helping out. But we've since gotten that figured out. Now I looked in the shop manual and it says to turn the ball joints. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I undid the nut and physically turned the ball joints to make them straight, which I guess works. But you know, if you look at the picture that's attached to the instructions, you'll see that you're actually supposed to turn the shaft coming out of the rack and pinion. That's what they mean by turn the ball joint, and that will actually make the adjustment on your steering, and we could have saved ourselves tons and tons of time. So thank you to all of you that commented on the last video, but we have since figured it out, and we still have a straight wheel, and we have a straight steering wheel, and it has been aligned at a shop. So we're all good to go on alignment, and we're actually really close. So it worked for the most part. Anyway, today what we're going to be doing is fixing our squeaky exhaust. Yes, that is actually a thing. So the exhaust in the X is actually held up by mostly springs besides the downpipe coming off of the exhaust manifold. And there's one bracket that attaches it to the bottom of, like, where the engine and transmission meet. There's a bracket there that attaches there, but a lot of it is still pretty loose. And so when I went to install the factory exhaust, which if you haven't seen the video, please make sure you do that. It's in the X19 playlist I'll put down in the description. But if you haven't seen that, you need to do that. But when we reinstalled that factory exhaust, I went to go use those springs that were still on it, and it ripped through a lot of the old rusty sheet metal bracketry that Bertone and Fiat thought was a good idea back in the middle of the 80s. So we're going to be replacing that. So there's only about one spring, maybe two, that I think are holding it up out of like the 6 that are provided. So we're going to be fixing that, and it's really annoying how squeaky it is. Yeah, it's annoying. It's even more annoying when you hit your head. So yeah, it's annoying. That's why we're fixing it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get you guys back there. I'm gonna probably have to raise the back of it a little bit to get access to it. There's just a couple screws holding on that whole back part. Then we can start removing the brackets because I think they're just bolted on. So we should be able to recreate those. But first things first, we're going to need to clear the bench because there's a lot of garbage on the bench and we can't do anything with that. So we're going to need to do a quick cleanup of that and get some room to walk because I can't do that. And in case you haven't noticed, I've got some of the merchandise down in the description down below. This is just an example. This is the one I happen to really like. I like the baseball shirts. You know, they got those 3/4 sleeves. And I got the navy to match the X. So we're kind of twinning in a way. But yeah, this is just an example of some of the merchandise we got down at the website. The description down below has got a link for you. We've got stuff for the X, for the bus, all sorts of good stuff, men's, women's, you name it. We've got it down there, so make sure you guys check that out down in the description. But while you guys check that out, I'm going to clean the bench and bring it back in just a second. So we were able to get that rear grille off and the rear trim cover off as well. Looks like we're rubbing just a little bit, so I gotta adjust our clearance. But you can see these brackets here that are holding on the springs for our exhaust. And so when we drive, we're hearing that monstrosity going down the road. And on this side, we've only got one. And the other is completely ripped through. And the bottom one is also completely ripped through. And this side, the bottom one is just Bluetooth option. And this top one is hanging on by pure hopes and dreams. So in reality, we've got two. This one on this side, this one on this side, and that's it. The other 4 are just, you know, for decoration. So what we need to do is unhook these. These are under some pretty good tension, and That's part of our squeaking issue. But I also want to put them all on there. That way we have good support for this entire system, not just holding on by this bottom bracket here and by our downpipe. You know, I want more support on it. So I'm going to pull these off, and these are held on by what looks like 10mm bolts here and here. And we're going to see if we can do our best to replicate this. Highly doubt it, but we're going to try it anyway and see what we come up with. Maybe something a little bit more sturdy, some gussets in it, something like that, to strengthen it and have more than just, you know, 1/8 of an inch holding on our entire exhaust. So let's pull these out and see what we can come up with over on the bench. So we've made it to the bench, and I'm going to apologize because the battery is charging a battery over there, so you hear that kind of humming. And my neighbor's dog wants to talk right now, so that's what you hear as well. But we were able to pull out those brackets. This is our passenger side one, and you can see where that one just kind of snapped off, and this one is just, you know, our Bluetooth one that I showed you a second ago. But this is our driver's one. Yeah, a little more brown, not as pretty looking. Definitely on the verge of holding on by hopes and dreams. The one that was holding it is almost all the way gone through, and this other one is, you know, also held on by a thread. But I know this has been worked on before, not only because the nut is so rusted off and the attached on there that some of the body metal came with it. That's totally awesome. But it's that this is a 13mm bolt on the top, not a 10, and it had a gazillion washers stacked on the back of it. But you know, it was holding, so I guess that's a plus. Oh, thank you, Mr. Battery Charger, for quieting down. What I think we're gonna do is we're going to chop this off and put a new nut on the bottom, because this wasn't doing anything for us, clearly. And we're going to see if we can actually, instead of remaking these, because these are actually pretty thick, to be honest. I don't know, like 10 gauge maybe? I don't know. I'm not a metal guy. They're thick. So if we cut this bolt off, we'll put in a new bolt with the spacer. There's, well, no spacer left here, but we'll have to come up with one, and then put our own nut and bolt through that. But I think we're going to see if we can possibly try and save these tabs that are on there, so we don't have to completely rebuild this thing. I thought these were much thinner than I remember, but I'm glad they're not. So I think we'll do our best to try and save it. I think what we'll start with is probably our better looking one, this one here. And you know, they've got these openings on them to help get those springs on and off. Because if it was just a hole, you're not going to bend that super tight spring flat to then hook it through and then, you know, all the way through the hole. Just kind of set it over through it and get it in there. So we may have to come up with something on the bottom here. I'm not sure. This is going to be our trickiest part right here. But we may have to figure out a way to try and recreate that hook. Or on these, we notch out the hole some more and just kind of slide it back. I don't know, because if we have it too far this way, then it's just going to slide off that edge. That's the last thing we want, so we need to recreate this. So let me do the easy stuff first, because that's just kind of how I roll. And we're going to chop this off, take some pliers and get this bolt out, and then we'll start cleaning these up to see what we're working with, because again, this is all just surface stuff. I think this will clean up great. Then we can really start diving into it and cracking out the welder, which I was not expecting to do today, but looks like we're gonna have to. So we've got those cleaned up, and the rusty one actually still is, what do you know, rusty underneath it. But what I've been able to do is bend this tab back down to kind of give it some shape. Same with this one, and you can kind of see that it's really starting to eat through. So I've been sitting here thinking and thinking and thinking, especially on this one, on our good bracket, as to what we're going to do with this. So my solution was washers. Why not use a washer to replicate that hole? And what we would do is we'd actually weld the washer through, which in theory will be pretty thick, or I could find some thicker ones. And we can actually put them over the same spot, and the whole diameter is exactly the same on this one at least. And we'll be able to make it there. We'll weld this to it, and then we'll cut a little V shape in it to allow the spring to sit in it. Now if we do that on all 4 of these, well, 4 that are missing, but we should just do it on all 6. So when we do it on all 6, which is going to be the plan, then we will fix all of these and reinforce the ones that are already there, and so we don't have more bending. So the challenge now is I've got to dig through a mountain of washers to find 6 that are going to be pretty close. Wish me luck. I'll put one together, kind of weld it and stuff, and I'll bring you along and time lapse it to see if it's even worth it. But you know, you won't know until you try, so let's set you guys up in a different spot, kind of the way, and we'll weld one of these washers on and see what we come up with. Our welder is still humming away here, but we just got a really quick zap on it, and the hole is like perfectly lined up on there. Of course, we got plenty of overhang, so we might have to cut on the backside here. Since this mounts on that sidewall, we're gonna have to zip that off to make sure to lay flat. But I'm actually pretty happy with that. We're gonna need to, of course, go all the way around, probably on the backside here, do a few more. But if we grab some, let's see, little tiny ones here. See if we can, well, a little bit of flex on the, well, a lot of flex, maybe. That tech wasn't very good, or just wasn't enough, but need to turn up a little bit. But if we do that a little bit more solid, I think that is what's going to be our ticket. But of course, we're going to have to really get that set in there, otherwise we're just going to flop off, especially when there's tension under it, because that spring has a lot more power than this thing. So I think what we're going to do is just kind of keep going through our stash here. Maybe we'll find something a little bit smaller, maybe something like that, to really, that might be better, so it's not as much packing, but it's a little bit more dense. Get that in there, and then once it's welded, we'll cut that slot in it so we know exactly where it needs to be. It's kind of playing guessing with pre-cutting the slot, so that may be better, is just zip this on there, really get it sawed in there, really get in the heat, and let that sit in there, and then cut the hole, or the slot, I mean. So I think it's going to be a plan of attack, is a lot of weld and cut and weld and cut, and then we'll do it on both of them, because I've got some more to go through here. Maybe we'll be able to come up with something. That's a good one. Anyway, getting distracted. Let's zip through these and then see what we come up with. Well, I kind of made it work. My welds are not the prettiest, but they're on there and they're gonna hold. So what I've done is I've taken, I'll stay up, kind of stay up. How about over here? Okay, so what I've done is I've taken that washer, I got it welded. This one we're just not gonna look at because it's ugly, but you kind of get the idea here. And so we'll reinforce this corner, cut the notch in it. This one down here I was actually able just to fill a little relief with a weld to kind of build it back up. And the one down here, that's the really ugly one. You know, there's always one. Then, you know, I just don't know where the slot is yet. So what I want to do is mock it up on the, this is on the driver's side. So we want to mock it up, and based on how it looks on the back side, I'm sure the slot is somewhere where that weld is pulled up, somewhere around there. But I'm going to have to double check. Maybe it's on the bottom. You know, I don't know. I have to cut down here until the spring pulls upward. I'm not sure. I've got to put it back in there and crawl under there and look. But this is the basic idea. I'm not going to record the other one. One, because it's rusty and there's not going to be good welds. even these are not good welds. Solid, but like I said, they're gonna work. So let me just duplicate this process over here. I think I'll have a little bit more guidance from this one because I think they're supposed to be relatively symmetrical, especially with that one that has the opening at the bottom, which is why I think that one's kind of at the bottom. So let's duplicate this process. I'll bring you back when both are made, and then we'll probably shoot them with some paint just to make them not look like this, and then we can start installing them and get rid of that squeak.
1 hour later.
Well, we've got both of those brackets complete. Now that they've got black paint on them, are they beautiful? Of course they are. But underneath that black paint, are they? Not even close. But that's okay, because it's underneath the car on the sides by the exhaust, and we're not really gonna ever see it again unless you're one of those weirdos who crawls underneath and looks at that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm really happy with these. We did shoot them with some black paint, and we're just gonna let those cure a little bit. I sped up the process with a heat gun, and I have not cut the notches for our new bracket, the second one we did, yet, because I want to make sure they are in the right orientation. I'll try and see if I can find like a factory photo of what they look like. I'll look in the manual and see what they're supposed to look like, and then I'll just kind of match those notches. We still have the challenge of the bolt through our passenger side one. The spacer was completely gone, so I'm gonna have to see if I can come up with something. I highly doubt I have anything remotely close to what it's supposed to be, so I'm just gonna have to rummage around and pretend like I'm looking for something that I don't have, and do the right thing and just not over tighten it too much, and just say we put a spacer in there. Awesome. Glad we're on the same page. So anyway, let's let these dry. I think I'm gonna run in and grab some dinner really quick. Kind of hang out for a minute, let this really cure, because I don't want to have black paint all over my hands. And we'll come back out here and put the notches on them, and then we'll put them back in, grease up those connections so they don't squeak anymore, and we'll see what we come up with.
Many hours later.
Well, some time has passed, as you can tell, because now it's dark. But the important thing is I've saved myself the embarrassment and you the awkward watching of me fight a spring for the past, I don't even want to tell you how long I've been fighting these springs, but they're all on and none of the washers came off, so that's a good start. But let's take a look at these. I've got my light here, so hopefully this won't wash you out, but we've got the two springs attached up there with our bracket reinstalled, and then on this side we've got our 1, 2 in the back, and then 3 on the bottom. Now what I've done is actually sprayed all these with white lithium grease to help lubricate the springs. There is plenty of air gap between them and everything, but I really don't want those to start squeaking and then we're all in the same situation. But no more squeak. It's all gone. Now that it's all solid and installed, nothing's flopping around, it's all secured just like it should be. And in case you didn't notice, I did a professional rebuild of our muffler here.
Look at that, that's nice and shiny.
AKA shooting it with some Rust-Oleum to make it not look so bad. So that's rebuilt. But the important thing is it doesn't squeak anymore. Hallelujah. So that means when we drive, we're not going to be annoyed to death. Alright, well, with the magic of movie editing, the garage is clean, the X19 is back on the ground, and the rear grille and apron are all reattached, and we have no more squeak. Hallelujah. That was driving me nuts. When you drive in the car, you can hear it inside, and it just drives me bonkers, so I'm glad we were able to get that fixed. But the real question is to see how long that lasts. So cross your fingers. We're gonna need all the luck we can get. But we're getting to the point where not a whole lot left to do on this. You know, it's actually quiet in the garage. It's nice. No dogs barking, no horns honking. The battery charger is put up and put away, mainly because the battery was profusely steaming battery acid all over the place. So I thought it was, you know, probably a good idea to unplug that. So we did. And you may ask yourself, what was that battery for? I mean, the bus and the X both have their battery installed. Why do you need that? Well, new projects are on the way. We're basically done with the X19 not a whole lot left to do. We did that alignment, got that all figured out. We've got no more of a squeaky exhaust, and basically everything works. So there's not a whole lot left to do, which means we need to move on to the next project. If you have a project in mind that you want to see on the channel, you should put it down in the comments down below, because I would love to hear what your thoughts are. We had a live stream a couple weeks ago, and some people gave me thoughts there. Some good ideas, something to consider, but we do have some more projects coming through, and I think we're going to move on towards stuff that isn't going to be so long term. You know, like the X19, the bus, the 124s, the 850, all took quite a long time to build, and a lot of small videos. I think we're going to start moving towards getting cars in, redoing them, and sending them on to new homes. But let me know what you think. Do you like the long build series, you know, stuff like this? Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to see some more short-term stuff. You know, let me know. Just put that all down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. Speaking of stuff down below, don't forget, you can get your official Garage Time TV merchandise with the links down below. Plus, we have some discount codes and stuff like that from the vendors that support us here at Garage Time TV, so make sure you shop with them and support them. Vic Auto Sports, Vintage Car LEDs, make sure you support them. They support us, so make sure we take care of each other. With that, I think that's going to be the end of this episode. Not a whole lot left to do. Maybe there's something you want to see done on this car. That's reasonable. Let's be reasonable here. If there's something you want to see, you know, put that down below. I'd love to hear how creative you can be, because I'm definitely not the creative one. But anyway, maybe you have a guess what the project is. Tell me what you want to see. I want to hear from you. You know, you can connect with me on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We have a Facebook group, Garage Time TV group, where you can post your project, questions, pictures, memes, whatever you got. You can join us there, starting to grow that community. So go ahead and join in on that. And I think that's going to be the end here. I'm just going to keep rambling if you let me. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps the channel, so please make sure you do that. Only about 25% of people that watch these videos are subscribed, so please make sure you do that. It really helps out the channel so we can continue to grow and bring more cars into the garage and keep bringing you free content here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see ya.